Are you thinking about making a move to the Portland metro area and you're looking for the best suburb to land on? Well, in today's video, we're going to cover the top 5 best suburbs in the Portland metro area, according to niche.com, and we're going to see if we agree with them. So stick around.
I don't know. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in the greater Portland metro areas, including those top 5 suburbs, then make sure you click that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, do a little dance, and that way you will be the first to know about everything happening in the area.
I'm Ann Stewart. This is Erica Hagfirst. We are your go-to gals if you're thinking about making a move to our area. All of our contact information is listed below. We love getting your texts and your emails and phone calls. We love it all. So if you are making a move, reach out to us. We'd love to help you make a smooth transition to our area. Okay, so what is the criteria that is judging these top 5 best suburbs?
Tell us, what's the criteria?
Well, according to niche.com, which we're going to get into, they're judging them by schools. That makes sense.
Pretty obvious.
Housing, so maybe
Very
the
important.
cost. Good for families, number 3. That
What
makes
about crime? Are they going to judge crime?
They are going to judge crime. Now, one that is kind of funny to us is nightlife.
There is no nightlife in suburbs.
Which I'm not really sure, like when we were going through this, we didn't notice that they gave a lot of information for nightlife. So we might pass that one up unless we see something that cracks us up and we'd like to show
we'll
that.
give you our impression because we've both been in this area for a long
Yeah,
enough
I was
that,
like, where the heck's the nightlife in the suburbs?
There's no nightlife.
So if we run across a suburb that we think has excellent nightlife, we will let you know as we go through this.
Indeed.
And then the last one is diversity. So what is the diversity of the demographics? And so this will be interesting. So let's get to it. All right, so we're jumping right into the first number 1 best suburb in Portland, and that is Bethany.
Woo!
Now, they gave it an A+. That's a pretty high
impressive.
rating. So they gave the public schools an A+. They gave housing a B. I'm actually surprised it was only a B.
I know. I think it should be a little bit lower. It's expensive over there.
Good for families, A+. The crime was, they didn't really have a lot on the crime, so it was kind of like it didn't have a lot to report. Nightlife was a B-. I would have given it less.
I would have given it a D.
I mean, what are we expecting for nightlife?
I don't know.
What do you expect for nightlife in the suburbs? I mean, downtown, I expect, clubs and all that, but nightlife? Is it how late things stay open?
It's not late though.
Starbucks? And diversity. So it got an A- for diversity. I would agree with that, but let's go deeper into it. So Bethany's a suburb of Portland. It has a population of just under 31,000 people. It is in Washington County. It's considered one of the best places to live. Living in Bethany offers residents a dense suburban feel, and most residents own their home. And there is a lot of parks, so that's another plus for families or people who like to kind of get out there in nature. And many families live in Bethany, and residents tend to have moderate political views. And the public schools in Bethany are very highly rated. So
Super highly rated. People are always trying to get into Bethany for the school districts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, real estate in Bethany, as we just kind of talked about, it's expensive. It's become this suburb. I mean, the crazy part is I remember when I first moved to Oregon 20 plus years ago, and Bethany was like next to nothing.
Yeah.
It was a very
Farmlands.
tiny, exactly. It was very tiny. They were just getting going out there, but it has grown up and it is a kind of a hot spot for people working in the tech area.
Yep.
The schools are excellent. And that has also, because tech jobs generally have a good price point and it's become a sought after area.
Yep.
That has driven the prices up dramatically.
Yeah. So what is the average or medium home price in this area?
It's a little under 700,000. So 669 to be exact is the average. And that's not always necessarily getting you a ton of home. These are going to be a lot of, I'm going to say it, cookie cutter homes. These are, early 2000s development type properties. And
some newer construction. You sold one that was
they're still building out there. They're definitely trying to expand that area, and they have some nicer luxury options. But you're going up from that, 700. You can get some townhomes for less, but generally, if you're looking at a detached home, you're going to be in that higher price point. And they're great. I mean, it's great for what it is.
Yeah.
But you're going to be very dense. And I will agree that there are a ton of walking paths. So I used to live just outside of Bethany in what's called Rock Creek. Totally different video, but they have so many walking trails that connect all of these like areas, different subdivisions in Bethany. And it's absolutely fantastic. Some of them have like little parks, and there's some wetland areas that you go through. But just know for the housing, it's going to be pretty cookie cutter. It's going to be mostly from the 2000s on up, because that's, right around when I feel like it was really starting to take off. And they are still building out there. They are still expanding into the backside of the West Hills.
Yeah, it's a very sought after area.
Yep.
And I would say for a lot of people who move to this area and they want to be close to, like she mentioned, the tech area, instead of living in Hillsboro, they are first going to that Bethany area because it just has such good schools, great neighborhoods. It kind of, as niche.com says, it's one of the top.
It's number one.
Yep. Okay, now we're moving on to...
Where is Bethany?
Exactly. If you don't know where Bethany is, let's talk about it. So, Highway 26, which is the main highway out through the tech corridor that leads to the coast. You've got Hillsboro on one side of it, and then you've got, north of 26, you've got Northwest Portland, Bethany area. Now, Bethany, if you look at a map, we'll kind of zone in here on the map, which has West Union to the south of it. You've got 185th, which is a main road that goes down towards like Tanasbourne. And you've also got Laidlaw, which is up on top of the north before you see like a lot of farm country. So it's not a really big area, and that is why it's so in demand and the prices stay relatively high, because it's this little sector in Northwest Portland, 97229 zip code to be exact.
Yeah.
But because it's not very big, it doesn't have a lot of land left. And so when you do find properties in this area or any kind of new construction peppered in, it really goes for a higher price and goes pretty fast.
And, the proximity of where it's located is you can take a lot of the back roads to get into downtown Portland. So you can drop into Northwest Portland really easily. So it's kind of nice in that sense that if they're working, people are working in the tech industry, they're usually heading out towards Hillsboro, but they can still pop into Northwest Portland get downtown very easily.
How long do you think it would take somebody to get to downtown?
When you don't have a ton of traffic, you're maybe 15, 20 minutes, if that. I mean, it's real close.
Yeah. And you're so close to shopping, like we mentioned, Tanasbourne, big shopping area out there, and Hillsboro is just right across the freeway off.
And Bethany does have its own grocery store and like a little
Bethany Village
strip. Yeah, I'll call it a strip mall. But they've got some cute little shops. They've actually got a sheriff's office out there as well. Right
Starbucks.
In the thing, they've got an athletic center that is
a really nice
top-notch.
Athletic center.
They've got also some assisted living. I mean, they've got everything out there. Now, do you have a ton of options? No, you've got one grocery store.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a gas station very close, but you do have enough amenities that you can do that. And they've got some dog parks as well. So really a good location that makes people want to be there. I mean, it is overall a very safe place. I mean, I used to run out there and bike all the time, and you never feel like there's any concern. And it is mostly families and mostly people looking to raise their kids and have good schools, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So, and then they do have on niche.com's website, how safe do you feel in this area? 50% said very safe. There are no safety concerns. That's a pretty big score. And 33% said pretty safe. There are some safety concerns, but I generally feel safe. And 17%, the smallest percentage, said somewhat safe. There are noticeable safety concerns that are at times where I don't feel safe. So that's a fair statement for any particular area, I would say. But you can see about 80% of the people, give or take, feel very, very safe in that community. So,
and like I said, I mean, I lived there. I was running it like in the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I never felt unsafe. It's a really nice area.
Yeah. Now let's talk about diversity, because that's one of the big ones that they are, qualifying this to be one of the best suburbs of the Portland area. And they're giving it an A-, so it's getting in the A's, which is it's a high score. And I would say it does have a lot of diversity. There's a ton of different people that live in that particular area. Also in age categories, there are some 55 or older communities there. There's
really nice.
Really nice. Yeah. As well as a lot of young people who move into the area for the tech and the jobs, as well as, kind of families in middle of the road. But they're saying that the age categories, they kind of vary in the area, but the highest percentage is between 35 and 45 years of age. Then it jumps to 45 to 54, and then it has like 9% 55 and above. There are a lot of people who have higher level education, master's degree or higher is almost 40% in the area. So,
and I would agree that that's kind of what we see when we find buyers who are looking to be in the Bethany area. They're all usually highly educated.
Yep.
They've got good tech jobs, and they're fairly diverse. So I think that this is all very accurate information when it comes to that.
And they even say what one word or phrase best describes the people who live in the area. And the first one is welcoming at 63%.
That's impressive.
So you feel pretty welcome when you move to Bethany. The next one is family oriented is
Yeah.
13%. And then 13% also is progressive. Well, that could just be because we live in an environment here in Portland that is progressive, you could say. And 13% also says it's quiet. So
to be honest, you know, Bethany backs up against the urban growth boundary. I mean, they're very close. So you can literally, from some of the new construction sites, see the country. You know, I mean, you see the farmland, you see where the expansion's eventually going to happen. However, it is quiet. It is a lovely, lovely area. You're right at the base of like Germantown Road is out there, as well as kind of bounding. I'm making up words.
that works for me. I get it. Got it.
We all got it. As a boundary line.
Boundary.
And so, can we put that into the Urban Dictionary? But you know, it is very peaceful out there, and that's what so many people love about it is you've got nature, you've got trails, you can get out there, you've got lots of green spaces, and then you know the country is right at your fingertips.
Now, racial diversity, I would definitely say there's a high level of racial diversity in Bethany. Although, when I'm looking at the statistics here, it doesn't feel as much as I thought it would. They're saying 46% are white Caucasian, 40% are Asian. I would believe that.
Yeah.
But I would have also thought there would be a higher percentage of other races because I feel like when I'm there's a lot of Middle Eastern, Indian, just a really wide variety of other races. So I don't feel like those are really represented on the niche.com. I could be totally off, but I feel like it's not representative of some of the other diversity people that live there. So, but the Asian one, 39, almost 40%, that one I could see that. But I would say it's a lot more diverse than niche is actually giving it credit for.
I would agree with that too.
So, yeah. So anyway, that is that. And the average income, which is important to know, it's up there. It's $156,000.
So the interesting part though is that's average. So, but the median is just under 80,000, about 78, almost 79,000.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, And about community says 56% of the residents say it's an excellent community. 56% of people say the LGBTQ residents are usually treated well, but there are still some people who aren't accepting of them. What is the most helpful tip for a new resident to know about before moving to the area? Get to know your neighbors. That's 40%. Get involved in the community. That's 20. And have common sense.
Ooh.
So, yeah, interesting stuff.
Sassy.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have a little fun with reviews. Let's read a couple of reviews of what people say. Now, we're not going to go for all the 5-star reviews.
No, we want to get some
we
of
like
these
to keep it
There's
real.
4 1-star or 2-star reviews.
Yes.
No terrible. So that's I guess good.
All right, let's read one. Why don't you read that one, Erica?
Yeah, so 3-star review. It says Bethany is a decent suburb of Portland with an easy commute to the rest of Portland area. Yep, we agree with that. The public school systems are overcrowded and need readjustment. I think that's kind of a standard issue. Public safety could be better, but is not an everyday worry. Bethany has many large green spaces and parks. Homes near the large green spaces need to keep pets indoors at night due to a large population of nighttime predators like coyotes and wildcats.
Good point.
It's very true. Overall, Bethany is a moderately average place to live. I would agree with that. That is something, again, with the farmland being right there and current expansion into these areas, we do have lots of coyotes. I see it all the time, and raccoons, all of those other things.
All right, and the last one we'll read is a 5-star review.
Ooh.
Nice, safe, clean, family friendly, lots of racial diversity. Schools are of good quality, and there is a lot of grocery stores around. So I'd say overall, I agree.
Yeah, I agree too that it gets an A+. I mean, I think it's a strong suburb. We generally, recommend the Bethany area a lot.
Yeah. So if you have any comments on it, drop it below. If you have questions on that area, let us know, and we'll get to the next one here. All right. Number 2, Cedar Mill. Also very close to Bethany, the first suburb we just talked about. It also gets an A+.
Oh my gosh.
So it's saying A+ for schools, B for housing, A+ for good for families. Crime is kind of the same. Doesn't really have much to say there. Nightlife is B. I don't know why that one cracks me up so much. And then diversity is A-. So Cedar Mill is a suburban of Portland. It has a population of around 19,000 plus people. It's in Washington County. It's one of the best places to live, according to niche.com. Living in Cedar Mill offers residents a dense suburban feel, and most residents own their homes. There's lots of parks, which are obviously good for families and young professionals. and there's moderate political views. So let's kind of jump into what is the medium home value? It's higher.
It jumps up. So you have to realize that we're getting further east or closer to downtown Portland with Cedar Mill. And that usually means that the price point's going to go up for homes. So median home value is $815,000. I would say that's very accurate.
Yep.
You're getting a little expensive. Very similar feel to Bethany, though. You still have very good schools, nice homes. Some of these are a little bit older, though. This area has been around a little bit longer. Not to be confused with Cedar Hills. But they have a lot of, like, I call them the mini mansions. So 3,000 square foot plus, and they're,
larger
very
lots.
stately, larger lots. But it's a very nice area. You're getting a lot of home for your money.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay for it.
And I would say probably another reason why the price points are higher in that area, like Erica mentioned, there are older homes with bigger houses and bigger plots of land, which tends to, make the prices go up. And it's Washington County. We're not in Multnomah County, which we're right on the border. In talking about Bethany and talking about Cedar Mills, we're still in Washington County, which is highly sought after. People don't want to be in Multnomah County because of the property tax situation and other tax situations. So, and it's really close to Highway 26. You can pop on and off the freeway. So locationally, let's talk about where does it sit?
Yeah. So locationally, it actually even kind of butts up to the Highway 26. And then it's, nothing here is square. So, I mean, but you go up into the Bonnie Slope, just south, just east,
north, south,
west, just west, just west of Northwest Heights and some of those more exclusive neighborhoods that are getting up into the Multnomah County. And so it's right there as you're heading down like Highway 26. You go down a hill. It's kind of right at the bottom, and so really fantastic location. You're maybe 5 miles into downtown Portland by way of highway, and it's super quick to pop up and over and drop in. You're probably a 10-minute drive to get into Portland.
And you're really close to St. Vincent's Hospital. So if you need to be near a hospital or you like the idea of being close to that, you're very close to all those medical facilities. All right. Crime and safety. Let's see what it talks about here.
Whoa, that is insane. It's an 83% say very safe, no safety concerns.
That's high.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And 17% say pretty safe.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking, I would think that would get a pretty high rating with that many people talking about how safe it is. So, hey, if you're looking for safe, that looks like it's getting a pretty good rating right there. Now, let's talk about diversity. So, first, let's start with education. So, about 30% or higher of the residents have a master's degree. That's pretty high. And about 40% also have a bachelor's degree. So, that's up there. That's almost 70% of the population has a higher level of education.
When you add in 16% has some college or associate's degree, I mean, there's definitely some education happening there. I would have actually thought that the master's was a little bit higher, but that's just me.
Average age looks like it's right around between 35 and 54.
Pretty large, diverse.
See, this is one thing that people have to know about Portland, and a lot of economists speak to this, is that we have actually one of the most healthiest age diversifications in all the land, all of the United States. And that's really important because it keeps our population not from being too young or too old. It's a nice, even amount of, we have a little bit of everything. We have the people that are moving up, we have the people that are moving down, we have the people that are moving in.
We're the sampler platter.
We are the sampler platter. That's a good thing, right? Diversity. Okay, let's see about what more we can see about the Cedar Mill residents. I'm curious to know what they say about.
They say they're friendly
and tolerable. And let's see what the diversification is in the racial diversity. So they're saying 64% are Caucasian, 20% are Asian. And then it kind of just breaks down a little bit here and there. But I would have thought they're not doing a very good job of really getting granular with some of the other types of diversity. I would have thought, I don't know if they're categorizing Asian with other populations or not, but certainly I would think it would be a lot higher than that. So, but definitely diverse in that area. So. And then schools, very highly rated. We've got Sunset High School. You have an International School of Beaverton High School. You have Mountainside High School. You have Lincoln High School and Beaverton Academy of Science and Engineering. So a lot of highly, highly rated schools in that particular area. And let's read a couple of reviews. Let's pick one that doesn't have a 5-star, which happens to be this first one. We're at here.
All right. 4-star review here. Cedar Mill is a nice community, very livable, and in unincorporated Washington County. That's always very important. Good selection of coffee shops, restaurants, and other public facilities. Convenient location nearby major highways. and good schools.
I'd say that's good. And then we have an immediate 5-star review. It says, Cedar Mills is perfect for families. It has plenty of parks, grocery stores, schools nearby, and little crime. If you're looking to party, however, I'd recommend closer to downtown. Are there not really any clubs or bars in the area? So that just solved our problem
to be honest,
knowing about nightlife.
I would agree. So like having, grown up in, I moved down to Oregon in my early 20s. So Cedar Mills does not have a lot. However, there are a lot more restaurants, a lot more grocery stores, all of those, the amenities, I would say, is definitely more abundant in the Cedar Mill area than it is in, say, Bethany.
Yeah.
So that is nice. And you're going to find more restaurants. A lot of them are chain restaurants, but you do have more options. So, yeah.
Yeah. So overall, would
Good
you
for living,
would
not
you
good.
agree with their rating of?
I would agree. To be honest, Cedar Mill almost sounds like
A+,
maybe it
yeah.
should be first.
Yeah.
But
yeah, after reading through it and kind of agreeing with a lot of stuff, I thought same thing. Mm-hmm. All right, number 3 is Cedar Hills.
not to be confused.
Don't confuse.
Mills and hills, very different.
I know, it's very confusing. So we just talked about Cedar Mill. Now we're talking about Cedar Hill. And it's really close to Cedar Mill. It's just south of it. And it also gets an A+. So there's something about that area, you guys. If you're looking to make a move to the Portland area, that's the place. It gets an A+ for public schools, B- for housing, A+ for families. Again, crime and safety is negligible. And nightlife of A+. I got to hear what they're going to say about that.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Diversity A. So Cedar Hills is a suburb of Portland. It's got just around 9,100 in population. It's Washington County.
Yeah.
And it offers a very suburban feel, but it also is really close to bars, restaurants, coffee shops, parks. It is closer to a lot of that stuff, so that's probably why it's getting rated higher for nightlife. But I think we have to classify nightlife because I feel like suburban nightlife and downtown nightlife very, very different.
It's never going to be downtown nightlife.
Yeah. So the median home value dropped a little bit, and I can tell you about that. So. The median home value showing up as $555,000. That sounds like a deal for being an A+ suburb. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons is because where it's located is in an older area. I love it. I feel like it's Beaver Cleaver. It's this old area that was built in the 50s and 60s. When you go down the streets, it's these cute little ranch style homes built in the turn of the, almost the turn of the century kind of feel. And a lot of them have been updated, but they're not very big. They're on average about 1,600 square feet. Some people have added on, but they're so charming. And you're not getting a big house, but you're getting kind of that older vibe. But it's very close in. It's very close to things, and that's a good price point. So if you're price sensitive to things, then
I would say that almost feels a little bit on the low side, to be honest, for what you're actually paying when you go into Cedar.
I would agree with that.
Cedar Hills. But I would agree with Ann. It's a I don't want to say average, but it's a very comfortable neighborhood. You're going to go in, like she said, lots of 1 levels, 2 levels or split levels that have been updated over time. Really good bones. They've got some fantastic neighborhoods, within this suburb. Parks and Foothill Park is great.
Yeah, and it's flat, so it's easy to bike and walk all over the place in there.
And this is actually really close to the Nike campus.
Very.
So you get a lot of this type of employees living there because it's just an easy commute. They can walk or bike to work, but it is also closer to highways and more commercial type stuff with grocery stores and shops and businesses.
Tons of it.
And even like car lots and stuff like that. So you're kind of getting into that more busier type section.
Yeah, and if we take a look at a map, we are just south of Highway 26. So if you pop from Cedar Mill down to Cedar Hills, you're just like literally a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah.
And it is really close to Cedar Hills Crossing. So if you haven't explored that little shopping area, it's massive. It has a movie theater. It has tons of franchise restaurants and food and like all kinds of stuff in there. So it's really, really, really close. There is some public transportation that you can hop on and hop off in that area if you're into that. It's also really close to not entertainment, but like a racket club of some kind.
Oh yeah, there's
Cedar Hills
Racket Club.
Yeah, racket. Well, yeah, there's a racket club. I knew I heard.
Well, tennis and all those things. Yeah,
pickleball.
And it's right off of the main drag, Cedar Hills Boulevard. So
yeah, so it kind of starts just below Highway 26. And it kind of is west of 217. And you're really close to Junkins Road, which shoots right down towards Nike.
You've also got a big athletic club in there. Villa Sport Athletic Club. They're kind of a luxury item right across the street from the Nike campus. and very nice upper scale type of spot.
Yeah, and you're also really close to Tektronix, which is a tech company. And the thing about the area is that I look at Cedar Hills, that neighborhood where there's the older homes, as a lot of people who downsize, who want a one level and they want to have a smaller footprint house, or you have newer people, young professionals or young families who are trying just to get started.
Still have big yards over there.
Still have big yards over there. There is a cult following of a lot of people who love that neighborhood because it's one of the few neighborhoods that was planned back in the 50s and 60s on the west side, and it just has that flavor that everybody really likes of those older kind of feel homes. So it's highly sought after, but you're not breaking the bank entirely by living in that area. So, and there are little offshoot areas around as well, but just a really quaint location. And then as we look at crime, how do people feel about crime? There's actually not an extra link on niche.com to talk about any kind of crime, so I don't really have much to share in that way. Of course, we have to be really careful as realtors not to talk about crime. Please go online and do your research if you have any questions regarding that. But let's talk about diversity when it comes to the people that are living in Cedar Hills.
What do we got? Click the link.
What do we got? Okay, let's talk about age demographics. Very healthy range. We got 15% of the population is between 25 and 34.
Yeah.
17% of the population.
Such an even balance.
Is 35 to 45 years. 12% is 45 to 54. 9% is 55 to 60. That jumps.
17%.
Okay, why is that? This is a huge demographic thing we have to focus on.
You know,
17%.
It's because there's so many one levels in
the
area.
65 years or older, 17%. It's one of the higher populations in there because it's one levels. Like we mentioned, there is a good mix of population.
And you're still relatively close to everything. You know, like, I mean, a lot of these
Washington
families.
County.
Yeah. That, I mean, to be honest, we can't stress it enough, but there's a big difference between Washington County and Multnomah County taxes, and people will buy around that.
Yes.
So just something to keep in mind, especially if people are retired or, you know, whatnot.
And then education levels, we've got masters, 23%, bachelors are 29, some kind of college is 29. So when you add those up, it's pretty high. People have education.
And median household income is a little bit lower. So B plus for jobs, but the median annual household income is about $103,000. That's not, you know, that's good. I mean, you can be a little bit lower in these areas and still have a nice home. And
I have a theory behind that. Just based on the number of 65 or older folks that live there, they probably are living on more fixed incomes and they're living in those one levels. So the data points get skewed, right? When you have a mix of people maybe living on retirement versus, you know, just starting out in life and having those new tech jobs. So I think that's probably why. There's probably a lot of people who don't move out of that neighborhood who realize that they age in place, you know?
Yeah, that's the other thing is people don't have to move out of this neighborhood. So yeah, you've got great schools again. Some of these people can still go to Sunset, the International School of Beaverton, Mountainside High School, the Science and Engineering School, and then Meadow Park Middle School.
All right,
what are people saying?
Yeah, let's read the reviews. Let's choose one that's not so flavor.
You know, this is pretty impressive, though. Yeah. There are only 4 and 5 star reviews for Cedar Hills. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
So let's see. What do we got, Ann?
Okay.
Give me a 4 star. Here we go.
A 4 star. Let's do it. All right. The neighborhood itself is great. Close to schools and parks. There is a shopping center nearby with multiple grocery stores, as well as options for fast food and sit-down restaurants. The HOA has a lot of issues, but the neighborhood seems to have noticed and is voting for new representatives.
Oh.
But that was in 2020 when that person wrote that. So maybe there's been, you know, some turnover and made that. And HOAs always don't get a big, you know, everyone has their take on their HOA, but I would say that's not a terrible review in general.
No.
Why don't you read another one that's a 5 star?
Okay, so here's the 5 star review. I highly enjoy living here. It's clean, nice people, great parks and stores. I've been here for 2 years and plan on living here for a while.
There you go. All right, so we would definitely agree with its rating.
Oh yeah.
In fact, sounds like a nice place to move to for myself. All right, number 4, and we were surprised about this one being in 4th place and not maybe in 1st or 2nd.
It kind of makes sense overall.
Yeah, let's go through that. So Lake Oswego, what we call the Beverly Hills of Portland. It got an A. Not bad, not, you know, but
not as good.
The public schools got an A+, which is no surprise because they have excellent schools.
That's what they're known for.
The housing is what skews it.
I think the housing is what brought them down. So it's a C+, but
C+.
Housing in Lake Oswego is expensive.
So expensive.
You're getting like not a lot for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, especially, I mean, you look at anything around the lake and you're minimally like $1 to $1.5 million. And that's just like outlying areas. If you want to be right on the lake, you're in multiple millions. And so it's just, the whole area is expensive.
Yeah. It's hard to find starter
very
homes.
hard that, aren't still $800,000. And you're not getting like tons of square footage or anything like that. It's like your average little beater. I mean, I showed a heavy fixer, like couldn't live in a heavy fixer, and it was still like $500,000 or $600,000.
Yeah, heavy fixer. Yeah. So don't go to Lake Oswego if your budget is sub 800,000 because you'll be wildly disappointed in the inventory.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at some other things. So Lake Oswego is in Clackamas County. So now we've ventured to Clackamas County, which also has fairly favorable property taxes. We're not in Multnomah County. That's the one that a lot of people worry about with property taxes. It is considered always on the top lists of best places to live in the Portland metro area. It has a very suburban feel to it. There is a lot of restaurants, coffee shops, and businesses that are around the Lake Oswego area. There's many retirees that live in Lake Oswego, surprisingly. And the people that live there tend to lean on the conservative side politically. And the public schools are always rated top in the nation. Now, how many people live in Lake Oswego on average?
It's not huge. It's about 40,000 people. So, relatively reasonable. And, this is where we start popping up, though, is the median home price, $825,000. And
I want to say that is the median. The average can be as high as $1.6 million.
Yeah, I was going to say the average is going to be a lot higher.
I was going to say that seems a little bit like
it feels
not
low.
Quite right.
Like they might have included there's a lot of condos and townhomes in Lake Oswego. And so I feel like that's bringing that number down because really for most people looking in Lake Oswego, you're probably like $1 to $2 million to get a decent house
easily.
Yeah. And that's just
so we're gonna make a little change to this one and say
I'm not sure I agree with
I'm not sure I agree with that one either. So we're gonna kind of go okay, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so where is Lake Oswego? Now, Lake Oswego is actually a bigger city than most people realize because it has the lake in Lake Oswego. You actually have to drive around. Going one front side of Lake Oswego to the next can take you a long time.
It could take you like minimally like 25 to 30 minutes.
Easily.
Especially if there's traffic.
And it's probably a good 25 minutes from downtown Portland on a good day.
I would disagree with that.
Tell me more.
Well, because if you're downtown, like if you're in First Edition or like if you're right in the heart of Lake Oswego,
you could get down there quicker.
You can get down there pretty quick to like South Portland.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably 15 minutes if max. It's like 10 to get
But what
to
if you're down here?
If you're on the far side of the lake,
then it can easily take you.
Then yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah, and it could even take you longer because I always tell people if you're just driving from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake in Lake Oswego, it could take you 25 minutes. That's not including going downtown.
It's got a lot of weird shapes because of the lake.
You got a lot of
circular roads, and let me just tell you, like it's a little bit crazy moving around, and there's some like one-way streets and roundabouts, and you can't.
Yeah. So, but overall, it rides right up against I-5. It kind of turns over, towards the east, and it's just right up butting against Tigard and Southwest Portland, and then it also butts up against West Linn, Oregon. So it's just got a big mass, and it goes all the way to the Willamette River.
Yeah.
So when you look at it on a map, it's fairly large.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's got some good spatial.
Now, crime. Let's take a look at what they say. How do people feel in this area?
Kind of interesting. So 79% say very safe, no safety concerns, and then 21% say pretty safe.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, everybody assumes Lake Oswego is very safe. I'm not going to say like the not lock your door type place, but it's still pretty safe. You don't have to worry about going out, walking, all that kind of stuff. You're going to see those type of things happening all the time.
And you go to downtown Lake Oswego, you do see sometimes homeless. I mean, they do run around there here and there. It's not huge. It's not encampments, but you do see it. And the residents say, according to this, that the law enforcement are very visible and very responsive, right around 79%. So people feel safe living in Lake Oswego. Yes. Now let's talk about diversity, because that's always an issue when you kind of get to a place like this, is like, do they really have diversity? Well, let's see what they say.
Yeah, the demographics. Okay, so
let's start with education.
Education, it's saying 33% or higher, or 33% of people have a master's degree or higher.
Yep.
40% have a bachelor's degree, and then 19% have some or an associate. So that's a pretty good basis.
So almost 90% of people have an education of college or.
Now where Lake Oswego maybe falls down a little bit is their racial diversity.
That is a true statement.
78% are saying Caucasian, 8% Asian, and then
Just
it
falls off
kind
the
of
cliff.
falls off after that.
So I'm surprised they actually
I
got
feel
a high
like
rating for diversity.
yeah, I feel like it's a little bit more diverse than that, but to be honest, it is, I can also see that.
Yeah.
So what else we got?
Okay. Now, I don't know if I agree with the medium household
I think
income.
that's low.
They're saying 127,000. I've seen other statistics online, not just that long ago, that said the average was more closer to 150 to 170.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably a true statement. You do have to make some good money to live in Lake Oswego.
Yeah.
People always come to Portland and they're like, oh, I heard Lake Oswego is a great place to live. And when we start talking about the average sales prices and what you can or can't get, quickly becomes evident that a lot of people are like, eesh, I can get so much more for my money if I go to another city just a few blocks or miles away. So
Yeah. I would say the 127,000 mark is pretty low. Also, I've seen numbers that are much higher than that. And it's expensive to live there. There's a lot of condos in some areas, and I wonder if maybe those numbers are bringing it down.
Sure. Now, the public schools are getting an A+, and we totally agree with that. You got 2 high schools. You've got Lake Ridge High School. You've got Lake Oswego High School. You have a multitude of middle school and elementary schools. All of them get top ratings. That is probably the number one reason why people move to Lake Oswego.
Oh, yeah.
Is because of the schools, and a lot of people would rather pay more for a house than pay for private education. Not to mention, whenever you have school districts this strong, it keeps your property values going up and up and up. And the thing to know about Lake Oswego is it's landlocked. They're not making any more land in Lake Oswego. It's very difficult to find new construction in Lake Oswego, and if you find it, you're going to be paying probably $2 to $3 million for a brand new home, because the builders and development companies are after land like you would not believe, and they're out there with their sniffing around finding it, and when they do, they can build a $2 or $3 million or more house.
Well, and what they're having to do is, because there's not a lot of like just extra land. I mean, they can't really split current lots, and so basically these builders are having to go in and find older homes that maybe have been let go or a little derelict, and so they're having to scrape these homes,
a lot of
and
scraping,
then build on top of it.
Yeah.
Or in place of it, and sometimes they're funky homes. You see this in First Edition oftentimes, where it's First Edition is kind of like the neighborhood of neighborhoods in Lake Oswego, and so very walkable area. But those homes, people want to be there, but they want newer homes than what these older homes were, and so builders buy them, scrape them, put a $3 million home in its place, and voila.
And the other place too that they do that is around the lake. So there's the lake of Lake Oswego. Just to get on the lake is you're paying top dollar for houses.
I think you're minimally high.
I mean, three plus million is pretty common. And honestly, I heard just last year that a $7 million house on the lake was bought by a developer, and they're scraping it. They're taking it down to the studs and they're building. And in fact, they had a $10 million house sell on the lake last year with multiple offers by Renaissance Homes, which is a new construction home. And so that just gives you an idea how incredibly valuable the land is there, and that builders can build and turn a profit on that area. So that area can handle those price points. So just be aware, it's very expensive. But I would agree with the A+ on the schools in Lake Oswego. Yeah. Now let's read a couple of fun reviews, shall we? We got a 4-star review here. Erica, take it over.
All right. Lake Oswego has some beautiful parks and scenery, a walkable downtown, and is close enough to Portland that its residents can easily visit, but far enough not to get caught up in the city traffic. One thing this city currently lacks is diversity.
There we go.
However, its leadership and many residents have been taking steps in recent years to provide more affordable housing, as well as encourage the acceptance and celebration of more marginalized groups.
I would agree with that review. I would give it a 4-star in that regard too. Here's a 5-star review. Grew up in Lake Oswego since I was a freshman in high school in 2010. It's a safe community that has hiking trails, swimming, and shopping. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, I would agree with that. So overall, Erica, would you agree with this rating? How would you?
I mean, I think Lake Oswego is a fantastic place. I think it's safe. I think it's all those great things. However, I think the housing is really the biggest part. I almost would have given it maybe a little bit less, just because it isn't attainable for everybody.
No, and I also think it doesn't have the diversity that it claims it has.
Yeah.
So between housing prices being high, out of reach for a lot of folks, and diversity, I would rate it maybe a little lower than what they gave it on this after taking a look at some of the data.
Number 5.
Okay, West Linn, my alma mater. I grew up there, so I might be able to have some deeper insight than some others. They're giving it an A, just a straight flat A, no plus, no minus. A+ for schools, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be in Lake Oswego for whatever reason, West Linn is your next best choice. They're giving a B- on housing, and I think we can probably address that one just knowing what we know. A+ for families, B+ for crime and safety.
Interesting, it actually
B+
got
for
it right.
nightlife. That's
Where?
wild. And a B for diversity. Okay, so West Linn is a suburb, also in Clackamas County, similar to Lake Oswego. There's right around 27,000, give or take, in population. We call it a bedroom community because there is a lot of housing and not a ton of stuff that you can amenity-wise go and do. A heck of a lot less than Lake Oswego. There are restaurants, coffee shops, and bars. Typically it's limited and it's closer to like the Willamette downtown area off the freeway. But it does have parks and it has trails, but mostly it's on, a lot of it's on top of a hill. And so it's just a lot of neighborhoods and communities, but they're giving this. I also don't agree with.
I don't
the
agree
median
with it.
house price they said is $677,000.
No.
I don't know where they're getting their data, but I would say it's closer to like $850,000, $950,000.
Yeah,
I've even seen it get as high as just under $1 million in recent years because Lake Oswego, if you're not going to buy there because of housing prices and you realize West Linn's a better option, you get a lot more for your money, and it's a very similar community. In fact, when I was growing up, it was called, we were like the brother or sister to Lake Oswego.
You're the cheaper option.
We're the cheaper option, but you don't really always know where like Lake Oswego and West Linn kind of blend because they're so close together, and they're very similar in feel, but it's not as big in West Linn. It's a smaller community. So where is West Linn sitting?
I say West Linn is just kind of like southeast of Lake Oswego. It kind of circles 205. So you have the Willamette to the south of 205, and then, you know, as Ann said, it's just, I mean, Lake Oswego bleeds into it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets pushed out, but there's a nice little nook as you're driving around 205, and it basically West Linn encompasses that. And so, you know, you're right kind of to the west of Oregon City, obviously on the north side of the river. It is bordered by the river a good portion of the way. And so still a fantastic option if you need to get into downtown or, you know, over to the west. Or to the east. I think its location might actually be a little bit better than Lake Oswego, just in the sense that you can still get to a lot of different areas a little bit more quicker, especially, you know, if you're deep into Lake Oswego and you need to get out towards like I-5 or south. So yeah, it's got a good location, but yeah.
Okay, crime and safety. Now, we have this running joke about West Linn. The mean streets of West Linn, Oregon. Is it? Well, how do you feel in this area? The rating says very safe. There are no safety concerns, 82%. So most people feel pretty darn safe living in West Linn. How effective is law enforcement? Most people say, 65% of people say police is visible and very responsive. And then about 29% say the police aren't around much, but are there quickly when you need them. So I would agree with that, you know?
I think sometimes when you have less amenities, sometimes it actually creates for a slightly safer environment.
Yeah.
So it's not that you have less police necessarily, but you have less drawing people to that area.
And let me just say something that we haven't really brought up on our videos, but I think is kind of a key point. West Linn is on a hill. We have a very hilly environment in the Portland metro area. When you're on a hill, you tend to find that those areas have less crime. I think it's because there's more housing in those areas and less access points, foot traffic, public transportation. So West Linn fits in that category of being up on a very, very, very steep hill. And not a lot of public access. You know, people aren't going up to the top of West Linn Hill just to hang out, right? They're going there because they live there.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into diversity. What do we got here for age categories?
Again, a very diverse age category.
Very.
I mean, you've got 13% at 35 to 44. You've got 14% at 45 to 54, and then you actually jump, so you just start going up. So 55 to 64 is 16%, and then 65 plus is 18%.
So you literally have a healthy number of each age category. That's what we're talking about with the balance that Portland has. A lot of times, if you go to certain states and communities, they'll have an excess of 55 or older or an excess of younger population. And but this is a nice population demographic balance. So
yeah, really interesting. The education level is a little bit interesting. I would say that these are some of the lower numbers that we've seen. So 25% have a master's degree or higher, probably the lowest number that we've seen of all these communities.
Interesting.
And then bachelor's degree is a 39%. So still relatively reasonable.
Yeah.
And 24% with, you know, some college or an associate's degree. So not bad, but definitely some of the lower numbers. Oddly, the median household income is higher than it is for Lake Oswego. So, it's $134,000. I think maybe that speaks to the idea that people who didn't want to spend the money on Lake Oswego are spending the money down in West Linn.
That's an interesting point.
You know, being a little smarter with their dollar.
Yep. And again, we have excellent schools. So you have West Linn High School. In some areas, you can even access Wilsonville High School because the West Linn-Wilsonville School District is all in one. You do have, depending on where you live in West Linn, there are sometimes that the Lake Oswego school districts kind of pull in, but most of it's going to be the West Linn school districts or the Wilsonville school districts, and those are all top rated schools. Yeah. So like Eric had mentioned, if people don't have the budget for Lake Oswego or don't want to spend and get less in Lake Oswego, they always look at West Linn as the alternative, and it's a fantastic alternative. Let's jump into reviews. So the first one is a 4-star review. I always think 4-star reviews are fair because it's always like, I'm giving it a lot of credit, but I can't give it a 5-star. I think West Linn is a pretty safe and clean community. The only challenge with growing up here my whole life is that there isn't much to do inside the town.
True.
I would 1000% agree with that. You can go to the park or get food, and that's about it. So a lot of the time you're really dependent on a car, and not for me personally, but I know people whose families don't have more than one car, so they're not able to go freely in the cities near us. It would be great if there was more public transportation. Yeah. I would 1000. I felt like West Linn was not boring, but as a young kid growing up, there wasn't like a ton to do. And if I wanted to get out and do some fun stuff, I had to drive to the mall, go to the movie theater. We hung out at the pizza parlor a lot and things like that. But there's just not a lot of like whooping it up in West Linn, Oregon.
Probably a good thing.
Okay, here's another 4-star review, or there's a 5-star
Let's
review.
do the 5-star review. Let's
Fair
see
enough.
somebody who's like singing the praises. So West Linn is a beautiful suburb of Portland that is close to both a bustling metropolis as well as sprawling access to the outdoors. I would agree with that. It is safe and quiet and allows easy access to all that Portland has to offer. It is. That is actually an accurate description. You're this quiet little nook, but yet you can get to everything that the area has to offer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So
Fair.
Overall, I wouldn't necessarily agree with all the points that niche.com made. Like when it says nightlife is B+.
No.
I mean, there is a downtown Willamette area in West Linn that is oh so charming that has bars and restaurants.
Yeah, but I think it closes at like 6.
It's got to, yeah.
So
I mean, they have a great like food truck area, but like again, we're not talking. I look at nightlife as past 8 o'clock in the evening, right? There's stuff going on. It wakes up. It wakes up after 8 p.m. and I'm going to bed at 8 p.m.
Sounds an early girl.
I am. So overall, I would agree that West Linn should be in the top 5, but maybe I put it one placeholder above because I think it's,
I think that West Linn could definitely hold its own because I think sometimes when you're looking at suburbs, and obviously this is going to, depend on what's important to you, but I think if you're looking for a quiet place to live, this is a really excellent option. So I could even see it maybe being a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Cedar.
Could it be that Lake Oswego is on the bottom of this top 5?
It might be.
It might be.
I think Lake Oswego, it's a great area. It's got all of its.
It just depends on what you're looking for and for the money
You're paying to say that you live in Lake Oswego, and that's really what it boils down to.
Nothing wrong with that. Just
it's a fact.
All right, thanks for sticking around and watching the 5 top best suburbs in the Portland area. Did you agree with the top 5?
Did you agree with them?
We had some comments to share, and we would love to hear from you guys. As always, we appreciate you dropping your comments below. Give us your feedback. Did we miss a suburb that you think should be in the top 5? Did you think they nailed it? Whatever feedback you have, we'd love to hear from it. And we'd love to see you on the next video, so stick around and subscribe to see our next videos coming out. We put them out weekly. Bye.